No one could have ever imagined that the Japanese would start such a terrifying game using ancient Chinese poisons. Every time this guy sits down to feast on roasted human flesh, he lines up jars of toxic insects, what they call goo poison, right on the table. The bugs in those jars are much bigger and nastier than your average cockroach. Just looking at them makes your skin crawl, but for him, they're a delicacy. It gets even more twisted. Mid-meal, he pops the lid, pulls out a caterpillar, and carefully rips its legs off, lining them up on the table. Then he takes a bite of the human meat. He says it's so tender it just melts in your mouth, exactly like high-end Wagyu. When he looks the person across from him dead in the eye and calmly asks, "How does the human meat taste?" the entire room turns into a living hell. Welcome back. Today, we're diving into the darkest corners of the human psyche, where the unthinkable becomes a daily reality. The famous philosopher Sartre once said, "Hell is other people." Today, we're going to see exactly what he meant. Get ready because tonight is going to be a wild, terrifying ride. Let's get into it. Our story kicks off with Avi. Avi moved from the countryside to Tokyo to change his luck, but his family history was a mess. His mother spent every dime and all her attention on his sick older brother. Avi drained his entire life savings for his brother's medical bills, but he never got any love in return. Finally, he hit his breaking point and decided to leave home. His plan was to crash with his girlfriend, Gunji, in Tokyo, but things went south fast. When he told her he wanted to move in, she shut him down immediately. In just one night, Avi lost both his family and his relationship. Instead of living on the streets, he scouted the cheapest hostel he could find online and decided to stay there. The landlady was ecstatic to see a new tenant. From the outside, it looked like a hostel, but inside, the vibe was more like a prison. The rooms were tiny, just enough space for a bed and a small table. The landlady laid down the law: no smoking, and the fourth floor is strictly off limits due to renovations. Despite the weird rules, Avi kept his cool, because finding a place in Tokyo for only 20,000 yen is a total steal. But the other tenants were a different story, each one weirder and more dangerous than the last. In room 305, there was this thug named Yamaguchi. The second he saw Avi, he spat at him. Trying to be the bigger person, Avi offered him a bowl of noodles, but the guy just inhaled them and walked off without even saying thanks. At night, the walls in this place felt paper thin. Sounds of fighting echoed from the next room. All the other freaks in the hostel came crawling out during the chaos. One guy had a weird pumpkin-shaped head, and another was so scrawny he looked like a monkey. Then there was the guy hiding in the shadows, looking like he crawled straight out of the pit of hell. His name was Udao, the hostel's longest-standing resident. Avi didn't want any trouble, so he threw on his headphones and tried to sleep. Around midnight, when things finally quieted down, he went to take a shower. On his way back, he noticed Yamaguchi's door was cracked open. Curiosity got the better of him, and he peeked in, but the room was empty. Just as he turned to leave, the door swung open a bit more. What happened next was beyond his worst nightmares. Avi woke up completely disoriented. He thought, if a murder really happened, why isn't there any blood on me? But if it was a dream, why did it feel so real? To clear his head, he went back to room 305. To his surprise, the room was spotless, except for a few drops of blood on the floor. Suddenly, the landlady appeared behind him. She started cursing Yamaguchi, claiming he skipped out on rent and disappeared. She immediately mopped up the blood. On his way down, Avi saw the pumpkin-head guy carrying out heavy black plastic bags. That's when it hit him. They were definitely disposing of a body. Avi knew he had to get out of this hellhole fast. Right then, his college senior, Shan, called him with a job offer as a designer at his new firm in Tokyo. When Shan asked about his girlfriend, Avi felt awkward, but he went to apologize to Gunji anyway. They patched things up. Gunji mentioned she was studying law and her parents are paying her way, so they couldn't live together yet. Seeing how hard she was working, Avi decided not to quit. He'd stick it out at the cheap hostel, save money, and find a better place later. He wrote in his diary, "Today, my new life begins." The office was tiny, just 4 people in total. Shan told his old colleague, Tian, to show Avi the ropes, but Tian was a total creep.
When Avi brought him coffee, he rudely asked if there was toothpaste mixed in. When their female colleague, Jing Xiang, walked in, Tian couldn't stop ogling her. When a drained Avi finally got back to the hostel, he found his laptop screen on. He distinctly remembered turning it off before leaving. Someone had been in his room. He asked the landlady, but she flat out denied it. Avi knew she was lying because his noodles and beer cans were missing too.
That's when Wu Dao invited Avi to share some meat. Seeing the terror in Avi's eyes, Wu Dao told him not to worry. He just studies ancient poison arts. He just likes to see which of his bugs survives the longest. Halfway through the meal, Wu Dao suddenly burst out laughing and asked, "How does Yamaguchi's meat taste?" Avi nearly lost it. Wu Dao later claimed he was just joking, but Avi couldn't shake the suspicion. The next day, he left a thin thread on his laptop to see if anyone was breaking in. After a brutal day at work, Shan took the team out for dinner. Avi tried to be nice and suggested Tian should just ask Jing Xiang out if he liked her. He had no idea how petty Tian actually was. When he got back to the hostel, the thread was on the floor. Someone had definitely been inside. As he stepped out, the scrawny monkey guy confronted him, insulting him and saying he's just a lowlife whose life will end right here. Avi snapped. He refused to be lumped in with these freaks. The next day, he checked out some real estate agents, but Tokyo's rent was insane. Feeling defeated, he sat on the curb and eventually bought a small knife. He decided right then, if anyone tried to break into his room again, he was going to fight back. That same night, a new tenant arrived, a guy named Ah Jun, an aspiring director. Avi took an immediate liking to him, and they became fast friends. Ah Jun moved into room 305, the same room Yamaguchi had. When Ah Jun found Yamaguchi's ID under the bed, Avi's suspicions hit an all-time high. He told Ah Jun to get out while he could, but Ah Jun was broke. He only had 3 pairs of underwear to last the week. His innocence really moved Avi. Back at the office, Tian was making Avi's life a living hell. After Avi showed up late one day, Tian piled a mountain of work on him. Avi tried to smooth things over with coffee, but later found that Tian hadn't touched it. He'd used it as a trash can. Avi's patience was wearing thin. He missed the last train home and had to spend the night at an internet cafe where he got into a scuffle with some punks. The next morning at the office, his desk was trashed. Tian started screaming at him, but Avi wasn't the quiet guy anymore. He stood his ground and stared Tian down. After getting off early, Avi caught something chilling at the hostel. The scrawny guy was standing outside Ah Jun's door with a massive knife. Avi started shouting, and the landlady rushed in to stop him. When they searched the room, the knife was gone, but Avi saw walls covered in photos of dead people. The guy was a total psycho. Turns out the Pumpkinhead guy was holding the knife, hiding it all along. Avi thought about the police, but he had zero proof, and Wu Dao's mind games were breaking him. He begged Gunji to let him stay, but she said no again. Desperate, Avi spent another night at a cafe. That was the night Ah Jun ran out of luck. Wu Dao invited him for some roasted meat. As they ate, Wu Dao smiled and dropped the bombshell. Ah Jun was eating human meat. In that moment, Ah Jun's world completely collapsed. Ah Jun just stands there stunned for a second, then bursts out laughing. He's like, "Man, you've got a hell of a sense of humor." But the laughter dies out real fast, because right then, Mahu and Pumpkinhead, aka Wagua, step into the room. One look at the psycho glints in their eyes, and Ah Jun's grin vanishes. They growl in unison. "Why'd you stop? Keep laughing. Laugh louder." Ah Jun realizes he's trapped in a literal nightmare. A little while later, Ah Jun stumbles upon Mahu's face on a dark website called Meat Bun. Turns out, this guy is the prime suspect for butchering his own parents. Now, the entire apartment complex feels like a living hell to Avi. Every dark corner feels like it's echoing with demonic screams. Sick stuff is going down here that's beyond anyone's wildest imagination. Meanwhile, our main man Avi is getting
being crushed under the weight of his job. When Tian dumps another mountain of files on his desk, Avi finally snaps. He goes to his senior, Shan, begging for a cash advance so he can escape this hellhole. But Shan shuts him down, telling him it's just not possible right now. That rejection is the final straw for Avi's sanity. When Tian starts trash-talking him again, Avi loses it. He lunges at Tian and beats him senseless. Avi knows this could be the end of his career, or even land him in a cell, but in that moment, he felt like death would be better than this.
With his world falling apart, Avi heads back to the hostel to pack his things. He's done. He's moving back to the countryside. Those hopeful words in his diary now feel like a sick joke. Just then, a loud drilling sound starts echoing from the 4th floor. Driven by curiosity, Avi heads up there, but it's a ghost town. He tries calling Ajun, and the ringtone echoes from a distance, sending a chill down his spine. Suddenly, Udao and Wagwa corner him. The silence is deafening. With a subtle nod from Udao, Wagwa lets Avi go. Wagwa is clearly pissed because he wanted to finish Avi off right then and there. Avi's gut feeling was right. They had Ajun captive. Mahu was going full psycho, ripping Ajun's teeth out one by one with a pair of pliers. Ajun's brutal death completely flips the script. Avi goes to see Gunji to say one last goodbye. Right then, Shan shows up and tells him that Tian isn't pressing charges, but out of nowhere, Udao appears. He looks at Shan and says, "Brother, you've got some major sins hiding in your heart." Infuriated, Shan starts beating the hell out of Udao. Avi jumps in and barely manages to stop the bloodshed. After Udao leaves, Avi is overcome with gratitude toward Shan, thinking he's his only true ally. But the next reveal is gonna blow your mind. The apartment Shan lives in is actually right next to Gunji's. Shan has been stalking Gunji for a long time, rigging her place with hidden cameras. He was so obsessed with her it had devolved into a full-blown mental illness. The next day, while Avi is at Gunji's place, he gets a photo on his phone. It shows Mahu and Wagwa sitting right next to a sleeping Gunji, wearing twisted grins. Avi sprints back to the hostel like a madman to save her, but as soon as he arrives, he gets knocked out cold. When he wakes up, he's duct taped to a chair. Udao opens a box and shows Avi 2 severed heads inside. Avi's entire world shatters. The landlady finally drops her act and starts torturing him, but Avi isn't going out like that. He manages to break free. Total chaos breaks out inside the hostel as the psychos start turning on each other. Wagwa smashes the TV and attacks Udao. Taking his chance, Avi stabs Mahu to death. Then it's a brutal showdown with Wagwa. Wagwa literally bites Avi's ear off, but Avi manages to put him down for good. At the end of the story, the ultimate truth comes out. Udao leads Avi to that forbidden room on the 4th floor. That's where Avi sees it. Gunji has been dead for 7 days. On the very first day Avi arrived in Tokyo, he got into a huge fight with her, and she died after he shoved her. Avi couldn't handle the trauma and had been living in a complete delusion this whole time. He killed his own girlfriend, but his brain rewrote the story. Udao was never real. He was the demon inside Avi's head, the goo poison of his mind. Udao was just the personification of Avi's darkness that turned him into a killer. In the end, Avi kills Udao too. A week later, the police investigation reveals even more disturbing details. The landlady and her crew had actually murdered several people, including Ajun and Shan. Shan didn't kill Gunji, he was just trying to cover up Avi's accident. And the biggest shocker, police records show no one named Udao ever existed. Doctors concluded Udao was a hallucination, a manifestation of Avi's dark side. It was a terrifying realization of the philosophy that hell is other people. Lying in his hospital bed, Avi hears Mahu's signature raspy laugh and completely loses his mind. That night, he snaps and goes on a killing spree, attacking the nurses and police. Avi isn't human anymore. He's become a monster. The movie is called Others Are Hell, or Strangers from Hell. This version masterfully explores the darkest parts of the human mind. While there's a famous Korean drama version with an 8.4 rating, this film, despite its 5.3 rating, hits hard with its psychological depth. French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre first dropped this idea in 1944. When we lose ourselves to the judgment or actions of others, life becomes a living hell. This story is a grim reminder that sometimes the people around us are the ones who trigger our ultimate downfall. If you enjoyed this dark and twisted ride, don't forget to hit that like button. What do you think?
Was Avi born bad, or did his environment push him over the edge? Let us know in the comments. Let's hope we can all conquer our inner demons in 2025. I'm heading out for now, but I'll see you at the next stop with another mystery. Thanks for watching.